On current trends, without international action, at the end of this short debate, another 2 Syrian civilians will be dead and 4 will be badly injured. On Friday, desperate doctors in Aleppo appealed for international help to stave off further massacres and the potential besiegement of that city, fearing a repeat of the horrors of Srebrenica. In light of this, does the Minister agree that it is the Syrian authorities who are primarily responsible for these horrific, ongoing abuses, continuing their long-standing policy of targeting civilians in rebel-held areas? Does the Minister also agree that we urgently now need a mechanism with clear consequences to deter further barbaric attacks on civilians? I have raised repeatedly in this place the need for a no-bombing zone. Will he look again at this now? What is the UK also doing to work with all those with an influence over parties to this conflict, including Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran and Russia, to put pressure on all sides to stop all attacks on civilian targets, including hospitals? And does the Minister have evidence that Russian forces have been directly involved in the latest airstrikes? And if they were, does he not agree that it is surely time to look at fresh sanctions against Russia? Isn't it also now time for his department, along with the Ministry of Defence and DFID, to look again at airdrops to besieged communities? Why can we not now join forces with our European allies to get food to starving people? And wouldn't the act of airdrops put the regime under renewed pressure to grant more traditional and reliable land access? And on accountability, is his department involved in the collection of evidence to enable eventual war crimes trials, as we did during the Balkans conflict? I understand that the Commission on Justice and Accountability, which is funded by both the UK and the US governments, has evidence to link abuses to the highest level in the Syrian state. On refugees, given the escalation of the violence in Aleppo and the lack of medical care available there now, what further can the UK do to get the most vulnerable people out of harm's way? And surely, given what we know about the horror that many of the refugee children in Europe have fled, isn't it time to end the government's shameful refusal to give 3,000 unaccompanied children sanctuary here in the UK? And finally, Mr. Speaker, whilst I am a huge fan of President Obama, and indeed worked for him in North Carolina in 2008, on Syria, I believe that both President Obama and the Prime Minister made the biggest misjudgment of their time in office when they put Syria on the too difficult pile, and instead of engaging fully, withdrew and put their faith in a policy of containment. This judgment, made by both leaders for different reasons, will, I believe, be judged harshly by history and has been nothing short of a foreign policy disaster. But there is still time for both men to write a postscript to this failure. So does the Minister agree that it is time for the leaders of both our countries, even in the midst of 2 hotly contested political campaigns, to launch a joint, bold initiative to protect civilians, to get aid to besieged communities, and to throw our collective weight behind the fragile peace talks before they fail? I don't believe that either President Obama or the Prime Minister tried to do harm in Syria, but as is said, Mr. Speaker, sometimes all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.